Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another gameplay video, finally. As you can tell, this is a couple of months old. This video was actually shot around the middle of August, and as you can tell, it was pretty hot, and I decided to run with shorts that day, which will eventually haunt me later on. So I decided to go with more comfort than protection that day, and that's definitely something that I was going to regret, and turned out to be one of my super fails of the year. Now, if you have been watching some of my more recent videos, you'll notice that I've been playing Pump a little bit more. You know, not necessarily the whole entire day, but at least for a portion of the day. You know, I would go to the field, bust out the Pump for a few games, or up until noontime before switching to the Electro. And something came up, and it was something that I wanted to discuss with you guys out there, especially for you players who regularly play Pump and switch to Electro. But anybody's free to chime in. But it was something that I read in a Facebook post and online, and basically had me thinking. Now the question is, do you find yourself playing differently when you're playing Electro versus playing Pump? What I wanted to focus on was a difference in tactics, a slight difference in communication, or maybe even teamwork. Now, before we get further into the conversation, I just wanted to, state that I think we can all agree that Pump can make you better at, several things. One of them, snap shooting. Another one is aiming, basically, especially when someone is running across the field, and also picking your shots. And I don't think anybody's really going to deny that fact, and I just wanted to get that out in the open before we get into the heart of the discussion. And one of that is actually the tactics on the field.
What's the greenhouse?
That's one thing I wanted to ask, is if your tactics are the same for when you play Pump versus or when you're playing an Electro, with an Electro I should say, or is it more like a carryover of skills from Pump, where even though you're using an Electro, you start picking your shots, you don't really lane as much, or versus just a quick burst here and there, and you find yourself improving with snap shooting as well. Personally, as I thought more about it, I still think that I still play different when I Pump versus an Electro, and let me just explain. So let's say you're about to start a rec ball game, all right, and just before the game you are deciding what bunker that you're going you're going to run into, and you're already thinking of a good position if you get to that bunker, and what you're going to be able to hit, and how you're going to protect it. And typically you want to be as aggressive as you can, running down the field as far as you can, within reason of course, so that you can take the advantage of the field. Now with an Electro, I would assume that I personally would also feel more confident, especially if others don't move as far as I do, or that they don't want to be so aggressive. I still feel pretty comfortable that I can still move up to the bunker that I initially intended, especially if I'm caught somewhere up there. I can hold my position better with an Electro, and even if I'm going or playing against 1 or 4 people, I can hold that spot until some of my teammates move up and can help me a little bit more. Or even, let's say, playing against other Electros. If I have an Electro, I can kind of try my best to hold them back, and then again wait for my teammates. Now if we flip that around, where I have an Electro and I'm going against a Pump player, I find myself, to be honest, a little bit more aggressive. I'll still be careful, especially if I'm going to move up where he is, but I'll definitely use my rate of fire to pin him down. But I would find myself advancing a little faster than I would if that guy was with an Electro. So now let's say I'm playing Pump now, I find myself not being as aggressive or bold, for lack of a better term. But I find myself relying more on the positions of my teammates. So for example, if we're about to start the game and
Left,
I
right.
pick the bunker that I think I'm going to go to,
down the tape.
and some of my teammates pick some bunkers that are not close or in line
Left,
where
left,
I am, I'll most likely won't take that bunker and maybe take
One in the kill
a
box.
bunker closer to where we started. So I find myself playing alongside or along the lines where my teammates are. I also won't move up far away from where my teammates are, so I don't basically catch myself alone against the opponents, especially if they move up. So what I try to do is I always have somebody, at least someone, either to close to my left or to the right of me, and we try to move up together. In the event that they do get shot out and I don't really have a cover, especially playing against Electro, I'll try and make a strategic retreat back to a better spot or closer to where my teammates are so we can work together. That's one of the things I was talking about, the difference between playing Electro and Pump. If it's the same, if you find the same thing too, or over time, especially for you, Pump players that have been playing for a long time, do you find yourself reaching a level where you feel comfortable against 1 to 3 Electros, even with your Pump? You'll still hold your own and try to get as many as you can before they're able to advance on you. Now, with what I just said, when I play Pump, about playing side by side with my teammate and concentrating on increasing my communication and having a little bit more of a teamwork, and that's how it's supposed to be, right? In terms of playing paintball, if you want to have a successful game, a more fun game, that you try to communicate with your teammates, that you do work together and have some teamwork playing against your opponents, and that's how it's supposed to be. Or because you have an Electro and you do have a higher rate of fire, do you use that factor to allow you to be more aggressive and pick the bunker that you normally wouldn't pick with Pump, and then again maybe slightly diminishing with your communication or your teamwork because you want to try and be sneaky, or you're a little farther away from the rest of your team? Now, with all of that being said, my question is, do you notice your gameplay changing after playing Pump? Now, because you have a less reliance on your rate of fire, you increase your teamwork, as well as an increase in communication with the people that you play with, so that over time the way you play with an Electro is very similar to the way that you play with Pump, and there's not that big of a difference between the two. Or are the two sides totally different and will stay different, but at least you will take some of the skills that you've learned with Pump over to the Electro side? So for example, you'll take the snap shooting skills that you've learned, or the aiming and picking your shot, so you won't be shooting as much as you did before with an Electro, but you'll still use that rate of fire if need be and use it as an asset on the field. So basically, that was just a question that I wanted to pose to you viewers and players out there, and to see what you thought. So by playing both Electro and Pump over time, I'm not saying 5 months, 6 months down the line, but more so 2 years, 3, 4, maybe even 5 years down the line, that both skills and playing both will merge together so that your gameplay, no matter what type of gun you use, is still going to be very similar. You're taking the skills that you learned in Pump, the skills that you learned playing in Electro, and put them together and blend it. Or is it more so like a practice? One thing I can think of as an example are cyclists. You know, these are the ones who race with really light carbon fiber bikes and everything. However, when they're practicing for a race or before they get into a race, they're not really using the same bikes they would use for the race. They would use heavier bikes, you know, steel bikes or maybe even aluminum bikes, so that their muscles are stronger, so that when it's time for the race, they're going to be even faster. And so with that being said, is it more practicing with the pump to learn skills that you wouldn't normally acquire as quickly playing with an electro? For example, because you can't fire as fast, you're going to have to rely more on teamwork. You're going to have to rely more on communication and learn that basically, you know, on quote, the hard way. And then you can bring it over to the electro side when you do play electro, but there's still going to be a difference. So, you know, I'm sorry, I apologize ahead for all you know, die-hard pump players or who use pump. Would the regular person, the regular Joe who plays both pump and electro, do you find yourself just using the pump as an exercise on certain skills, so that when you do play electro, you can take those skills over and make yourself better out on the field? So basically, you know, not to demean pump or pump players, but just using pump to practice on things so that you can bring it over to the electro side. So enough of that serious philosophical type of discussion. I mean, both types of play are fun, and you know, I didn't really include it in the discussion, but you know, I truly enjoy playing both, and sometimes I'll play pump just for the heck of it because I'm playing with people that I know. They're also playing pump. Hey, you know what, I'll take out the pump as well. So I'm not really looking too much into playing serious or acquiring skills, because you know, at the end of the day, we're basically out there to play for fun. So you know, the fun side aside and the philosophical aspect aside, you know, I just wanted to point that out. I mean, both are fun types of different types of play. So basically, that's just one thought I wanted to share with you guys. I mean, if I come up with any other thoughts of or topics of discussion, I'll make sure to bring it up on future videos. I do have more videos from late summer, and I promise I'll get those out shortly. I think I'll have a little bit more time in the next couple of weeks, so I'll be able to devote a little bit more time on to editing and putting out the videos. And as always, I just wanted to take this time to thank all of you guys out there for continuing to watch the videos, taking the time to make comments, or just, you know, sharing some words of encouragement. Thank you. You know, I think I'm very close to hitting another milestone of 4,000, which I'm very excited about reaching. I never really thought I would even get this far, but definitely just wanted to thank you guys out there in every video that I make for all the things that you do. And if you have any other thoughts or any types of discussion that you want to talk about, let me know in the comments below, and we'll see if we can incorporate that into the future videos as well. So thank you guys again, and see you guys out there at the field.